My name is Karim Ellis, speaker, teacher, trainer, breakthrough strategist. And today I want to talk to you about something that's very near and dear to my heart. I want to talk to you about something that I call G.P.S My Success. That's right, you heard it, G.P.S My Success. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, why in the world am I talking to you about a GPS? And this is what my firm belief is. I believe that a GPS is the world's greatest vision machine. That means you give a GPS an address. Its sole job, its sole purpose, the only thing it's designed to do is show you how to get from where you are to where you want to be. And so the question I want to ask you right here in in the year 2020, in a year of total setback with Corona, with leadership that's amok, with jobs that have had people let go across the country, whether you've been deemed essential or non-essential, I want to ask you one thing. What is your vision? What is the thing that you should be chasing in this season that you may have temporarily put down because you couldn't see clear to the finish line? See, for the next 20 minutes or so, I'm going to go over concepts from this best-selling book, G.P.S My Success, in hopes that it does one thing and one thing only, that it sets the stage for you to conquer and dominate as we jump forward into the year 2021. So let's jump inside this thing real quick, right? So here's a question for you. Why do you think most people fail to achieve vision? Why do you think? Just say it out loud, no matter where you are, just say out loud why you think the number one reason why most people fail to achieve vision in their life. Oh, I see you thinking. I can see the light bulbs going off over your head. Check this out. I read a study about 3 years ago where they took 100 people, put them in a room, and they asked them what their New Year's resolutions were. And every single person gave something of substance that they wanted to achieve that current year. Guess how long it took for most people to fold on that goal and dream? Just take a wild guess. Most people threw away their goal and dream no later than the end of the month of February. We're talking less than 60 days from when that goal and dream was announced that they threw in the towel. So here's the other question I have for you. Why do you think people walked away from it? Let me help you out in lieu of time. Distractions. Most people walk away from their goals and dreams not because they lack the education, not because they lack the knowledge, not because they lack the money, not because they lack the coach or the mentor. Most people walk away from their goals and dreams because they are fighting distractions. Every single day from the time you wake up to the time you lay down, you fight distractions. So that's the first reason why it's so important that you get in the habit of putting an address inside your life's GPS, because everything starts with vision. One of my favorite scriptures in the book of life says, write the vision and make it plain. And we're going to jump on that in a second, because plain means clarity. That means it's hard to chase a goal and dream if you're not clear about where you're going. But the other scripture I love so much is without a vision, the people perish. Without a vision, people perish. That means that right here, right now, there should be something of substance that you are focused on. Something you should be going after on a regular basis. That means when you were put here on this planet, there is something that you've been assigned to accomplish and do. And that, my friend, is what should go inside your life's GPS. So number one, everything starts with vision. The question being is, what address is inside your life's GPS? Where do you want to go? Because whether you know it or not, the address you put inside your life's GPS will ultimately determine the destination that you arrive at. The second thing I want to talk about is moving with clarity. And I said a little bit earlier, you know, when I made the concept about clarity, writing the vision and making it plain, it's almost impossible for you to hit a goal and dream if you don't know what you're going after. It is almost impossible for you to hit a goal and dream and not know what you're going after. Let me give you a prime example. Let's say that I want to travel from my house to downtown Cincinnati, where I live at, and I get on the highway, right? And the highway, you know, the GPS begins to give me instructions as I'm driving down the highway. So the GPS says when you pull off your street, you're going to make a right. You're going to go down to the highway entrance ramp on Ronald Reagan. You're going to turn right, and then you're going to drive down Ronald Reagan for 2 minutes. No, take it back, time out, flag on the play. You're going to drive for 5 minutes. Then you're going to get in your right-hand lane. And then when you see the exit, I want you to hop back over to your left-hand lane. Now I want you to stay in the left-hand lane for 5 minutes. No, 6 minutes. And then I want you to get in the left-hand lane. And then when you come to the fork in the road, I want you to pull off to the side and just kind of hang there. I mean, think about it. What I gave you sounded so absolutely ludicrous that if your GPS gave you instructions as confusing as that, chances are you take the GPS, hurl it out the window, and take your butt back home. Why? Because it's hard to make moves on great things when you don't know where you're going. Clarity is always key. See, the thing I love so much about my GPS it gives me instructions not only in real time, but it gives them to me with dynamic clarity. In other words, the instructions that I'm expecting to get is pull off your street, make a right, get on Ronald Reagan Highway, stay in the right-hand lane for 3 minutes. Then you're going to make a right on the 75 South. You're going to ride 75 South for 22 minutes, get in your left-hand lane. At exit 15, we want you to pull off, make a left, and then boom, you're downtown. Do you see how crystal clear those instructions are? So clear that even the dumbest person could follow these instructions and get some sort of desired result. So the question I have for you is this. For you out there that say, man, I know where I want to go. I got an address in my GPS. My goal is to build this business. My goal is to climb the corporate ladder. My job is to get this nonprofit off the ground. My job is to buy my first home. Or if I'm in real estate, my job is to buy my 50th home or that commercial unit. I get all that. I see that you have an address locked inside your GPS. But here's the question. How clear are you right now on the instructions of what you need to do to make that a reality? Because the opposite of clarity is confusion. I'm going to say that again. The opposite of clarity is confusion. And the real reason why a lot of people don't achieve dynamic results in their life, they spend their time wandering from destination to destination merely out of confusion. So number two is, how clear are you about what you're going after? One of the reasons I was able to explode my business, both in the speaking industry and in the real estate world, I got very clear on a couple key things. Number one, who's my core audience? What's my message? What's my topic? Who do I talk to? Those things helped me get really, really focused on what was important to create dynamic results. So you don't want to think wide on this. You want to think specific. You want to think detail as far as what the opportunity is you're going after. The second thing is this. The more clear you are about what it is you want, the better you will be at understanding the opportunities that help you get closer to your finish line. Every single day you wake up, there's an opportunity sitting in front of you. The people to take advantage of it are those that are clear about what their goal and dream is. They can take a look at that opportunity, not look twice, and understand this is a seed needed in my structure to get me to my financial finish line. So you have to be willing to move with clarity. Let's talk about the third step here, connectability versus dead zones. Now, I'm going to go over very quickly how a GPS works, okay? Because I just want to make sure we're all on the same page with this, right? So when I give a GPS an address, a couple things take place. Number one, the GPS will locate a local cell phone tower. It'll ping it out. That cell phone tower begins to broadcast into outer space, a satellite hovering above, to figure out the instructions of where I'm trying to get to. So as long as I got that trifecta connection going on where my GPS is connected to the cell phone tower and the tower is connected to the satellite, I will have instructions anywhere I want to go in real time, So several years ago, I had an individual reach out to me, wanted me to do a keynote for a major local conference here in Ohio. And I'm going to tell you something, for the amount of money he was wanting to pay, I had no problem with it whatsoever. The issue was this. The gentleman was a little bit old-fashioned. When I say old-fashioned, I don't mean that he was like 80 years old. Old-fashioned means that he did stuff the old school way. He didn't want to just have a contract emailed over. He didn't just want to do text messages. He physically wanted me to come into his office downtown, meet with him face-to-face, sit down, shake on terms, and sign paperwork. A little bit different from what a lot of us speakers are used to now. But again, like I said, for the amount of money he wanted to pay, hey, a brother had no problem with this. So I remember setting my alarm clock for 8 o'clock in the morning. Got dressed, put on a nice suit, first impressions of everything, got on the road. I simply forgot about rush hour traffic in the morning because it's been so long as an entrepreneur since I've been in rush hour traffic. I've been an entrepreneur for close to 20 years. And so as I got in rush hour traffic and I got closer to my destination, guys, I'm watching the road, but I'm watching my GPS. I'm watching the road, but I'm watching my GPS. I'm watching the road, and I'm watching my GPS, and out of nowhere, it hits me. I'm talking about a dead zone. Now, let me explain this to you because I want to make sure you don't miss this, right? Here in Cincinnati, Ohio, we have a couple places that we call dead zones. They are locations where I can have a signal at 1 second, but the moment I cross into this little zone, the signal drops. I lose connection from the satellite tower, from the cell phone tower to the satellite above. And in that moment, you're literally driving blind. So in this situation, I'm driving. My GPS is telling me that I'm literally 4 minutes away from my turnoff, and then I hit this dead zone. And before I know it, I go barreling past my exit ramp. having to speed all the way around the city so I can make my good impression by getting there on time to secure the speaking engagement. And I got to say something. I was blessed with favor. I did make it there on time, but let's divulge into comfort zones and dead zones, because again, or connectability and dead zones, because again, this is so pertinent and key to you setting the address and moving with clarity and getting to the next stage of the race. Number one, who are you connecting with in this season? Simple question. Who are you connecting with in this season? What I have learned in my journey through success over the last 20 years is that your goal and dream will always be bigger than just you. Facts about it. If it's a God-inspired dream, if it's a God-built dream, it's going to be designed that there's no way in the world you can pull it off on your own. So at some stage in this race, you are going to have to connect with people. The issue being is, are you connecting properly, and do you know who you need to connect with? So in my journey, because I can only talk about me at this stage, some of the people I have to connect with, number one, I said it earlier, God. There is a spiritual background here in front of the camera, obviously. There's been stages in the game where GPS didn't stand for Global Positioning System. It stood for God Positioning System. There have been some stages of the game where I have driven and I have gotten lost on my pathway. I would love to say that it has been 100% an enjoyable ride to get here. I've been in situations and circumstances where friends have walked away, doors have been shut. As my mentor, Les Brown, says, there's been opportunities taken away from me because I didn't have the complexion of connection. I have seen it all to the full. But I can proudly say, and I can say with a smile on my face, I can proudly say there have been situations where Global Positioning System had to be replaced with God Positioning System, where I've had to hit my knees and close my eyes and pray for direction, guidance, and wisdom to see the next leg of the race. Sometimes connectability has been mentors and teachers. Obviously, I said Les Brown, 20 years in the game, you have a lot of folks you come across that have poured into your cup, right? What I've learned is this: if you want to be successful and get that goal and dream off the ground, if you want to get on the superhighway and GPS your success, you need to instinctively be trying to figure out right here, right now, who is my mentor? Who's the person I'm supposed to be learning from? Who's the person who's been there, done that, got the t-shirt, got the coffee mug, got the victories, and most importantly, got the setbacks and defeats? Because I want to tell you something right now. You will learn more from somebody's setbacks and defeats than their victories all day long. See, the beautiful thing about a mentor, and I'm going to use an analogy that's going to really date me, right? I'm a kid from the 80s. And so in the 80s, one of the things that was the local joy was the Nintendo Entertainment Center. I remember when Nintendo was the it toy of Christmas and it swept the country, right? And Nintendo came with 2 games off the bat. It came with Duck Hunt and it came with Super Mario Brothers. And the thing that I love so much about Super Mario Brothers was I was the first kid in the block to beat this game. I was the first kid in my neighborhood to beat this game. I remember having a little bit of controversy on how good I was at the game. And so I sat down with 10 of my peers and I beat the game in literally about 25 minutes. And let me explain to you how I did it. In the game Super Mario Brothers, there are things called warp zones. I want you to stick with me. I don't want to lose you on this. There are things called warp zones, and warp zones let you skip levels or let you skip worlds. So I can start up on board 1, go to board 2, find the warp zone, warp to board 4, then find the warp zone, warp to board 7, go to board 8, and then that's how you beat the game very, very quickly. When you find the right mentor, the one who's been there, done that, got the coffee mug, the t-shirt, the victories and the losses, that is your personal God-inspired warp zone. When people ask me how I got success so quick and so fast, I set the vision, I figured out the strategy I was going to use, and then I found the mentor, the individual who can show me how to apply that information quicker and faster. So in connecting, who's your mentor in this season? The third thing I want to talk about is accountability partners. And it's amazing how many people I run across and they have no one holding them accountable on a day-to-day basis for going after goals, achieving results, and just basically sticking your foot to the fire and hanging in there. Raise your hand where you are right now if you have ever held a job where you were not the boss. You answered to somebody. Somebody signed your paycheck. Raise your hand, okay? I want you to understand something, that in almost every job, there's an accountability partner called upper management. You heard me right. There's an accountability partner called upper management. The last corporate job I had someone I answered to. I had a set of tools and tasks to do daily, and they would evaluate me on that. And if I did not get my job done on a daily basis, there was accountability for it. It may be a verbal conversation. It may be a write-up, a couple write-ups. It may be remedial training, or maybe we're going to let you go. So who's holding you accountable for the address you put inside your life's GPS as we get ready to shift from 2020 to 2021? Here's my hint for you, okay? Whoever's going to hold you accountable should have vested interest in your success. Don't just pick somebody because they're friends with you. Don't just pick somebody because you like the same sports or the same singer. Pick somebody who has vested interest and wanting to see you win, okay? The next thing I think you should have in your connectability factor should be your peers. Who are you hanging with? Jim Rohn said it best. He said, your life will mirror that of the 5 people you hang with the most. Look, 5 of them. That's all you get. 5. So who are you hanging with? There's a point in time when I knew I wanted out of corporate America and I wanted to jump over to the entrepreneurial place and space that I had to fire folks quickly. I live by a creed where I say that I'm the CEO of my life. I reserve the right to hire and fire as necessary. That means if I think in any way, shape, or form you're getting ready to slow me down or hold me back, I will let you go. You'll be gone before the pink slip hits the floor. So who's in your top 5 in this season? Who are the folks that's doing the very thing that you're designed to do where they can encourage you? Because like encourages like. And then last but not least, I want to talk about the concept of mentoring. We talked about finding someone to mentor you. We didn't talk about mentoring. One of the ways that my connectability level has gone through the roof, I've learned to mentor other people. I have learned to take my wisdom, my accumulated knowledge, my gift, my talent, a little bit of my pizzazz and that pretty smile, and I've poured that out on other people that have been less fortunate. I live by a creed again where I tell people that a seed reproduces after its own kind. That means in the course of my journey through life, from when I start to when I finish, I'm going to draw people to me that look like me, that act like me, that talk like me, that may walk like me, because a seed is represented by other seeds that look just like it. So in this season, based on what your skill set is, what your knowledge is, what you're sitting on, how often are you taking that well of knowledge and pouring that out into other people? See, the problem with most of us, we want other people to pour into us, but you understand that with any glass, eventually there's a level that it spills over. A glass can only hold so much. You, my friend, can only hold so much accumulated knowledge and wisdom before it spills out and becomes waste. So what I've learned to do is if I take the value called Karim Ray Ellis and I pour it out into other people's cups, what happens is I begin to fill their cup, but at the same time, mine's lowers down so other folks, other individuals of greatness can begin to pour into me. Listen, I'm giving you something right now, okay? So we talked about connectability. Let's talk about those dreaded dead zones, because this is what sticks a lot of people when they try to GPS their success. So here's the question for you. I told you how dead zones work. Dead zones are environments, areas where if you're talking on your cell phone and you get in the elevator, you lose the signal. You drive into a parking garage, you lose the signal. Where are your dead zones right now? 2020 has been a year full of nothing but dead zones, right? I mean, it's like every month a new dead zone pops up. So what's your dead zones? Again, going to my life and what I've seen, some of my dead zones have been friends and family. I got to see, in the speaking business, we have something we call a pregnant pause. Well, we got to pause for a second just to let you digest what was said, let you chew the fat and the gristle a little bit. You heard me right. For some of you, your dead zones in this season going to be both your family and your friends. Because they blood doesn't mean they have your best interests at heart, okay? What I've come to learn is, and this is biblical, Cain slew Abel. Even in The Bodyguard, Whitney Houston's sister put a hired hit out on her. So just because y'all blood don't mean that y'all gonna be family at the end of the day. It doesn't mean they got your best interest at heart. That means with some of you, you gotta be protective over telling people what address is inside your GPS. You can't let everybody know what's going on. I tell people all the time on life's football field, the only people that know the play that's being called inside the offensive huddle is the team members as part of the team. You can't tell everybody your business because some of these folks don't want to see you win. So some of you, your dead zones are family and friends. For some of you, your dead zone is the job. J-O-B, just over broke. I tell people the 3 most important days of your life is the day you're born, the day you discover why, and the day you decide to walk in it. For some of you, what's stopping you from walking in your God-given gift and calling is that J-O-B. I've spent so much time on this degree. I've had so many people show up to watch me walk across the stage. I've been doing this for 10 years. The more time you have invested in something, the harder it is to walk away from it. The more time you have invested in something, the harder it is to walk away from it. Now, don't you report to this post saying Karim told me, he got me all inspired, told me to quit my job. I never told you that. But I'm letting you know that sometimes the job can be the dead zone. On my end, I was given 40 hours a week to this job. And so I had to figure out how to take those 40 hours back and put those 40 hours behind my goal and my dream, because whatever you water is what's going to grow. If you spend 40 hours watering seeds that don't belong to you, don't expect or be obligated or feel like you're supposed to get fruit off that tree. That's not your seed. You just been watering it for somebody else. For some of you, the dead zones are going to be organizations, education, and environment. And let me break this down very quickly. When I say organizations, in the last 3 years, I have probably divorced. You heard me right. I have probably divorced about 30 organizations. And the reason why is because I was growing with the organization at one point in time. Then I noticed my growth potential stopped. There was a stage of the game where I'm walking out of here and I've high-fived everyone in the room. I've passed around a few business cards, but I haven't learned any new knowledge in a long time. Do you know how you can tell when a tree is dead? It stops growing. It's simple. It's not a mystery. It's not a riddle. When a tree stops growing, it's pretty much dead, okay? With some of these organizations, I believe some of you may belong to, if you haven't seen any growth on your branches, if you have not been bearing good fruit in a season, you need to check and see whether or not you need to continue to show up and belong to this organization, because your job is to grow and grow dynamically in this season. The second thing I said is education. And I'm going to tell you this out of a spirit of love, because as a kid growing up, we always heard the commercials that a mind is a terrible thing to waste, right? I'm a Napoleon Hill fan. I grew up on Napoleon Hill. I teach a lot of Napoleon Hill principles. Education is not the key thing that's going to get you to your finish line. I don't care what the grade system told you, because let's be honest about it. From kindergarten to 12th grade, you had no say over what you were taught when you sat there for 8 hours. The curriculum you had to learn and you had to regurgitate, because all you did was memory and spit back out. You had no say over what you received from kindergarten to 12th grade. You sat back and ate it up. So it's not education per se that gets you to your fantastic finish line. No, what gets you to your fantastic finish line is specialized education, or what we call specialized knowledge. When I knew I wanted to be a dominant motivational speaker, breakthrough strategist, I spent all my time studying that field. So I know everything about it: in, out, up, down, forwards, backwards, around. Specialized knowledge. When I wanted to crush it in the real estate industry and know how to flip houses and rehab, I spent my time focused on specialized information and knowledge. Here's a question for you. For the address that you put into your life's GPS at the beginning of this presentation, how much specialized knowledge have you been gobbling up on a regular basis? What you ingest is what you're going to show. What you ingest, what you eat is what you're going to show. In this stage of the game, I'm sitting here with some beautiful six-pack abs, courtesy of keto, but it's also diet. What goes in is what's going to show up on the outside. So I can go to the gym all day long, but until I change what goes in my diet, nothing else is going to matter. If you are telling me that you want to be successful in this season and you want to see that address in the GPS manifest, what specialized knowledge education are you eating? Or are you spending your time acquiring knowledge that is really a dead zone? Because a lot of people are guilty of getting knowledge they can't do anything with. And the last thing I talked about was environment. And let me be clear on this. Seeds are not designed to grow everywhere. That's that pregnant pause again. Seeds are not designed to grow everywhere. If I take a seed, right, and I plant it in 3 different locations, if I plant one right here in Cincinnati, Ohio, if I plant one in the Mojave Desert, and I plant one in the North Pole, out of those 3 strategic locations, that seed is only going to grow in one of them. It's not going to be the North Pole. There's no way in the world that climate is going to be conducive to the growth of that seed. And if I take that seed and plant it in the Mojave Desert, unless I'm planting a cactus, that seed typically is not going to grow. Again, the climate's not conducive, not enough water. But if I plant it right here in Cincinnati, Ohio, where I know that even though we have a little bit of bipolar weather, typically it's on point. I mean, typically it's going to grow and manifest. It has to be the right environment. You, my friend, whether you know it or not, you are walking, talking, living seed. But guess what? You don't produce a harvest. You don't produce fruit. You don't give up your inner greatness until you are planted in the right environment. Some of you are talking about goals and dreams that you want, and you're never going to see them. Why? Because you planted out in the Mojave Desert where you're never going to sprout. That, my friend, is a dead zone. In order for me to be in front of you right now, I had to be willing to get my hands a little dirty, dig up the seed called Karim Ellis, and replant him in the proper soil. So is that a dead zone for you right now? Let's hop on here, guys. Let's move forward. Let's talk about dealing with distractions. Now, one of the things I want you to know about me is I am a Porsche enthusiast. I have been in love with Porsche cars and convertibles since 1984. It's kind of odd I'm sitting here doing this because I'm holding one of my favorite toys from childhood. It's a Transformer by the name of Jazz. And as you can see, he's a Porsche. And when I saw this cartoon and saw that car, I fell in love with it. So you couldn't tell me anything. I knew at some stage of the game I was going to own a Porsche. And so we're working on getting Porsche number 4 now. But I remember when I got Porsche number 2. And she was absolute beauty. She's white on blue. I name my cars. I'm that guy. I name my cars, right? So this one here, I call her the White Lotus. And when I got her the week of one of my good friend's birthdays. He was going to have this blowout birthday party at the end of the week. And I didn't even want to tell him I got the car. I just wanted to show up at the party around 5, 6 o'clock where all the guests were showing up, top down, Louis on, music thumping, and just show out and just stun the crowd, right? And so I started my day around 3 o'clock. Took my car to a local detailer, shelled out some cash, got the car professionally detailed. I mean, I had my baby girl just looking like new money. I mean, she was sparkling. She was sharp. I'm on the street driving, getting the honks and waves from people. And so I jump on the highway to make my way towards my buddy's birthday party. As I'm driving on the highway, enjoying the wind in my face, this cherry red Mustang comes barreling onto the freeway. Missed my baby by feet. I mean, I slammed my brakes on. I was a little bit irritated because I'm protective of my cars. As I'm driving behind this Mustang, I noticed there's 4 kids in the car. 2 in the front, 2 in the back, and the 2 in the back are horse playing, shadow boxing, slapping each other, playing games. And I'm thinking to myself how dangerous that is because, they could distract the driver. Driving behind them for about 5, 6, 7 minutes. The kid in the back seat has this giant Guzzler cup Slurpee. He decides he no longer wants it. So at about 70 miles per hour, he decides to hurl this Slurpee out the window. Now, I know what he was thinking, right? I know exactly what he's thinking. He was thinking he could throw that cup out the window with enough velocity that it's going to land safely on the side of the road. Unfortunately, this young knucklehead didn't understand the law of physics. See, what happened was this. The cup hit the wind caught the lid, and in a matter of about 0.3 seconds, my brand new white and blue Porsche convertible was covered in nothing but purple, sticky Slurpee. Now, told you guys I'm a religious man. I love the Lord. Go Team Jesus. But all religion went out the window that day. I chased these kids from Cincinnati, Ohio, across state lines deep into the heart of Kentucky. It was like watching a Michael Bay film. It was like filming Bad Boys 5. We were weaving around semi-trucks, and I'm throwing up all types of sign language with my fingers I shouldn't be doing. They looking back over their shoulder like, he's gaining on us, he's gaining on us. I mean, we weaving and honking, cars are slowing down. Next thing I know, the GPS said, welcome to Kentucky. I mean, I was in such a furious state. All I wanted to do was hurt these kids. You ever be in a situation where you were so mad that you start talking to yourself and answering yourself? I mean, I had a full-blown conversation going where my reasonable self was in the passenger seat saying, you got to let them go. And I was telling my reasonable self, no, we can bury the bodies. I know a couple of deep creeks. No one will ever know. And then finally, sanity settled in. And I decided to let those kids go. Pulled off to the side of the road to gather my thoughts as I watched them drive into the distance and get smaller and smaller and smaller. Look down at the clock. Clock says it's 6:45. I've been chasing these kids for about a good 45, 50 minutes. So I was supposed to get at the party by 6, just to show out in front of everybody. 45 minutes past my deadline, and I'm about a good 40, 50 minutes out. So here's the dilemma. Do I go to the party late, or do I call it quits and go back home? Do I go to the party late, or do I call it quits and go back home? I was so frustrated over what just took place and looking at my car and all the Slurpee and the bugs, I decided I was going to go back home. Problem was, I didn't know where the heck I was in Kentucky. So I put my home address inside my GPS. Something powerful took place. As I went to put the address in, the GPS kept saying recalculating, 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 recalculating. See, even though I allowed these young knuckleheaded kids to distract me and take me off the beaten course of where I was trying to get to, the GPS never gave up on the original intended address that I put inside of it at the beginning of the journey. It never gave up on it. It was still trying to figure out how to get me to my appointed destination. See, this is what I know. Life has a way of showing up and just happening. Facts about it, this year has been full of events that have just shown up, knocked on your door without permission, and just happened. You know, I remember back in 2015 where I tried to break up a domestic dispute and didn't realize the young man had a 9mm tucked behind his waist, and he let off a round, and that round struck me directly in my right kneecap, and I didn't ask for that. 9 months of painful, excruciating physical therapy. All the muscle in my right leg disappeared in 2 to 3 days. Everything I had planned for the year, the speaking engagements, had to be either postponed or done virtually. Then I was left with post-traumatic stress disorder, trying to figure out how mankind could be so cruel. I'm out here trying to better humanity, and humanity just gave me its worst. For some of you, life knocked on your door and told you got a terminal illness, or a close family member has a terminal illness. You didn't ask for it. For some of you, your job let you go. They told you were non-essential. You're trying to figure out how to scrape together $1,200 a month to make your ends meet this month. And you didn't ask for that. Some of you got kids out here that are acting like they've lost their mind. They're out here wilding out, acting a total fool. For others, you're going through relationship challenges, separations, possible divorces. And though you want to fix the situation, you want to change the circumstances, they're not hearing that right now. And in the back of your mind, you didn't ask for it. Here's a question I have for you. When life shows up on your doorstep and gives you something you didn't ask for, will you voluntarily make the decision to go back home, call it quits, pack it in? Or will you allow yourself to recalculate to get to your fantastic finish? See, I don't know you, but here's something I know about you. I know you're watching this right now because I know it's your desire to finish the race and finish the race strong. The question is, are you willing to understand that there's more than one way to get to your finish line? See, what I end up doing when I thought about it good and hard, and I saw that GPS say recalculate, I decided to go ahead and make my way to the party. I found me a very cheap car wash to get the Slurpee off, put gas in the car because driving 70 miles per hour, 80 miles per hour for 40 minutes to burn through gas quickly. And I showed up at the party and I just reverse engineered the plot. I just made sure when the party ended at midnight, I was the first out there to kind of welcome everybody to seeing my new whip, my new ride. Are you willing to recalculate in this season? Bruce Lee said it best. He said, be formless like water. If you pour water down the side of a mountain, water will find the quickest, easiest way to get to the finish line. So what your business didn't take off in the season? There are other ways to get your business to the finish line. So what things have been shut down and money is tight? Money is an idea. You are one idea away from anything that you want, but you have to give birth to it. What's your gift? What's your talent? What's your expertise? What are you sitting on right now the Almighty has given to you for a time and a season such as this? Are you willing to recalculate? And then last but not least, let's talk about, are you loyal? Now, a good friend of mine got caught cheating on his wife a few years ago. And I'm just going to very randomly ask for you to say out loud how you think this man got caught. Nope. 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 I see you guessing. Yo, nope. Let me just solve it for you real quick in lieu of time. Let me just solve it for you. Guys, the whole thing is about a GPS. He got caught with his GPS. Let me explain this to you, right? So this friend of mine works at a job that never gives overtime. And when I say never, I mean it never gives overtime. So out of nowhere, he comes home to his wife and says, honey, we just landed this new client. They have mandatory overtime, company-wide, mandatory overtime. So for the next 3-4 months, there's going to be some days I come home late. There's going to be some weekends I'm going to be gone for most of the weekend. And she loved her husband so much, she never thought anything about it. She just thought, okay, well, we could use the extra income. Now, here's the thing. He worked, she didn't. They have 2 vehicles. They have an SUV, they have a 4-door sedan, and it's not like there's claim over the vehicle per se. It's what I call usage. So in other words, whoever takes the car in the morning, it really depends on the usage need of the car. So for the last 3 to 4 weeks, he's been taking the family SUV. Out of nowhere, he switches up and he takes the 4-door sedan, leaving the SUV in the garage. Now, let me tell you a little something about the wife. Wife, like I said earlier, didn't work, but she had a hobby. Her hobby was going to little small antique stores around town. And there was this one antique store she loved so much. She'd only been one time, and it was about 3 or 4 months ago, but for the life of her, she couldn't remember the name of this place. She couldn't remember. She called up all her friends who was into the hobby and said, do you remember that place? You remember the name? I know what side of town it's on, but I can't figure it out. They didn't know. She was trying to Google it at random. She couldn't figure it out. And so finally she had an epiphany moment. She said, I know what I'll do. I'll get in the car and I'll check the GPS. Because last time I went, I put the address inside the GPS. Jumps in the car, starts the engine, pulls up the GPS, accesses the history log. And sure enough, it is sitting right there. Sure enough, it is sitting right there, along with a lot of addresses that she's never seen before. See, there were some addresses to some real expensive, nice date type restaurants that popped up in that GPS history log, and she knew she had never been there. There are a couple of fun places, movie theaters, putt, golf, date night type things, addresses, locations that popped up, and she definitely knew she hadn't been there. And if you haven't figured it out by now, there are a couple of nice, expensive hotels that popped up, and she definitely knew she hadn't been there. Now, I'm not telling you this for you to get off of this keynote presentation and say, I heard this powerful speaker by the name of Karim Ellis, and he taught me how to catch my man cheating one-on-one. That is not the reason why I'm giving you this. What I'm saying to you is simply this. If I was to step through this screen right now, right into wherever you are, office, home, work, car, and I were to ask you to give me your life's GPS so I could take a look at your history log, what I find that you've been cheating on your goals and dreams with everybody else's agenda. See, it's not that most people don't achieve their goals and dreams because they don't put an address in the GPS. It's not that most people don't achieve their goals and dreams because they don't know how to move with clarity versus confusion. It's not that people don't know how to make the right connections or dodge those dreaded dead zones. It's not even that people don't know how to recalculate. The number one reason why people don't achieve their goals and dreams, they spend all their time cheating on their goals and dreams with everybody else's agenda. How often are you checking your history log? How often are you taking a look to see the places you've been? Because as a coach, as a mentor, as a breakthrough strategist, I'll tell you one thing. If I can check your history log and see where you've been, it gives me a great indication of where you're going to go. Let's do a quick recap, guys. We bring this thing to a solid close. Number one, I told you, set the address. In order for you to achieve great things, you have to set an address inside your GPS. Don't get up telling me what you're going to do if you're not going to focus on putting an address inside a GPS. A GPS only focuses on one address at a time. I put up 2 fingers. Let's flip that around. I don't confuse anybody. One address at a time. The GPS on my phone, on all my technology, is the dominant application. That means I can have Facebook, LinkedIn, I can have Snapchat, email. I can have all these apps up and be on the phone talking, and my GPS will be the dominant application. It will interrupt everything to let me know where I am en route to my journey. Put the address inside your life's GPS. Let it be the dominant application. That's number one. Number two, I encourage you to move with clarity. It's hard for you to go after what you can't see. It is hard for you to go after what you can't see. The goal for you is to charge your subconscious mind with a thought of clarity, meaning that I know exactly what it is I want. I know exactly what I'm going after. So when that opportunity pops up, I simply move. Number 3, we talked about connections versus dead zones, that GPS works on being connected. So in this season, who do you strategically need to connect with to get you to the finish line? Who are the coaches? Who are the mentors? Who are the organizations? What level of education? What do you need to connect with that's going to make a solid approach to your fantastic finish line? And more importantly, who, what, and where are the dead zones in your life right now? That when you enter that dead zone, you lose your signal, you lose your way. All of a sudden, you start dropping bars and you can't communicate right, and you lose focus over what's important, what you should be working on this weekend because you want to go hang out with the fellas or hang out with the girls. The 4th thing I talked about is be willing to recalculate. That when life shows up on your doorstep like it does to every one of us and gives you something you didn't ask for, you have a responsibility to your destiny to send that thing back and stay focused and understand that there's more than one way to make it to your finish line. And last but not least, I encourage you to check your history log on a regular basis. That the number one reason why people don't achieve success, they spend all their time cheating on their goals and dreams with everybody else's agenda. Guys, if you take the information I gave to you and you apply it on a regular basis and you honor this word and you move forward promptly, you have no problem hearing these powerful words.
Have arrived at your destination.
Guys, my name's Karim Ellis. I want to thank you so much for attending this powerful keynote. If you want more insight, go to Amazon, pick up a copy of the book, G.P.S My Success. You guys be blessed.